This is a setup demonstration for the Aspire BP60 kit. Inside the box, in addition to the device itself in the front foam tray, you will also find a user manual, a string to attach the dust cover for your mouthpiece to the device, a Type-C USB cable for recharging, and 2 coils, one of which we've already opened and had installed into the device. These 2 coils will be a little bit different from each other, and we'll talk more about those in just a moment. Taking a look at the device itself, we have on the front face a fire button and up and down buttons for adjusting the output. On the top here we have the dust cover, which can be removed to expose the mouthpiece of the pod. On this side you have your airflow adjustment, which has knurling on it, so all you do is slide this back and forth to restrict or open up the airflow to your preference. When we grasp hold of the pod and pull, we're able to remove the pod and gain access to the coil. Inside the body of the device, you have magnets that will hold the pod into place, so replacing it is as simple as just dropping it into place. Let's take a look more at the pod itself. The coils are just press fit into the device from the bottom here. In order to remove and replace the coil, you'd simply grasp this section here that protrudes and pull it right out. This is how the pod will be when you first take it out of the box with no coil installed. When installing a coil for the first time, now this one has some liquid on it because it has already been gently used, but when installing a coil for the first time, you have the option to either pre-prime the coil or install it and fill your pod and give it 5 to 10 minutes to saturate. To pre-prime your coil, you'll simply take your liquid and apply liquid to the exposed cotton wicking ports on the sides of the coil, and keep doing that and let it soak in, put some more on and let it soak in until it's fully saturated. Then to install the coil, you'd simply drop the top of the coil down in there, making sure the contact is what is on the outside, and press it into place. For filling the pod, on one side you have a silicone stopper that is your fill port. To fill it up, on this bottom part here, you simply grasp hold of that. This little flap kind of comes up, grab hold of that, and pull it right out. That exposes where you can insert the nozzle of your bottle and squeeze to fill. Once the pod is full, you can simply just press that right back into place. If you do have any liquid that ends up on the outside of your pod, either on the bottom, around the bottom of your coil, or on the side here, you'll simply take a piece of paper, towel, and wipe that away. Make sure that the bottom of your pod and your coil and the side fill port are fully clean and dry before reinserting into the device, like so. Now let's talk about the device itself and its functionality. To turn the device on out of the box, you'll give the fire button right here 5 clicks. And then you'll see the screen light up, and it's going to be giving you some information. In the center is the current output wattage that it's set to, and on the one side you'll find the battery life indicator, as well as right here it's telling us that the best wattage for the installed coil, which there is no coil currently installed, so when I tap the fire button it's giving me an error message, but this in the center is your recommended wattage, and it's telling us that that's the best wattage for it. On the bottom, it will be reading the voltage that it would be firing at. Over here, it's telling whether you're in auto or RBA mode. Auto mode will allow the device to sense which coil you're using and automatically set the best recommended wattage. And then it's going to have the recommended wattage range for any attached atomizer, as well as the resistance of the coil. Now let's watch what happens when I go ahead and attach this pod, which currently has the higher output 0.4 ohm coil installed. I apologize, it's a 0.3 ohm coil. So when I dropped that into place, it automatically set this to 35 watts. That's what it says it's best at. It's telling us over here that it's rated for overall 30 to 40 watts on this side here, so that tells you what general range you'd like. If you'd like, you can adjust that wattage away from the 35 watts all the way up to 40 watts. Now, because it's in auto mode and it's selected 35 as the default for the best wattage, it will not allow us to exceed the maximum 40 watts that this coil is rated for since it's in auto mode. If you'd like to increase it beyond that, you'd have to switch it from auto mode to manual. To do that, you press and hold the plus and minus buttons and toggle from auto to manual and tap the fire button. Now it's going to say RBA in that corner over there, and it will allow to exceed the 40 watts that it's recommended. I don't recommend doing so. It's always best for the longevity of a coil to stick to the wattage range that is recommended by the manufacturer. But for those folks who like to experiment, that option is available. Now, if we want to switch it back into the auto mode, just press and hold those up and down buttons again, and toggle it back over to auto mode. See that capped it back at 40 watts again? If I remove the pod to break connection with the coil and drop it back into place, it'll bring it back down to 35 watts, the best recommended wattage for the coil. This device can be operated either by button activation, pressing and holding the button, or it can also be a draw-activated device. To switch back and forth between those options, you would press and hold the fire and down buttons. Now it is in A mode, which is auto draw only. If I do that again, press those two buttons. Now it's in B mode, which is button mode only. If you want to be able to do either or, you can do one more time, press both of those buttons. Now it's in AB mode, which will allow the device to be activated either by pressing the button or simply by drawing. You can also lock the plus and minus buttons on the front face of the device so you don't accidentally change the recommended wattage by pressing the fire button quickly 3 times. The padlock symbol will show up underneath the wattage displayed here to indicate that these buttons are now locked and you will not be able to adjust them. If you'd like to be able to adjust them again, you can unlock the device with 3 quick clicks of the fire button. And now you can see the padlock symbol is gone, and I could adjust the wattage as I please. Whatever wattage you have this set to, when you remove the pod, if the device is in auto mode and you reinsert, it will automatically revert to the most recommended wattage for that coil based on the resistance it reads. So bear that in mind. When you go to refill your pod and you reinstall it, it will reset your wattage to the recommended wattage if it's in auto mode, whether or not these buttons are locked. Something to keep in mind. The 2 coil options that come with this kit are the 0.3 ohm coil that is currently in here that's rated for 30 to 40 watts, as well as a 0.6 ohm coil that's rated for 15 to 20 watts. We generally recommend that folks try both coils out first before buying any extras to see which one they prefer. This kit does also include, as I mentioned earlier, a little string that you can use to tie to your dust cover cap and the other end to the side of the device itself to help prevent losing it. That's about everything you need to know about the Aspire BP60 kit for setup. Happy vaping!